My name is Audrey Crawford, and I am 32 years old. 2 months ago, on Thanksgiving night, in front of 30 relatives, my parents handed my sister Vivian a $13,000 cruise package, then pressed a crumpled $2 lottery ticket into my palm like it was a joke they expected everyone to laugh at. My mother smiled the way she always does when she wants to look generous while cutting someone down. "This is all that is appropriate for your situation, Audrey," she said, loud enough for the whole dining room to hear. People laughed because my parents laughed first. My father chuckled from the head of the table, enjoying the little performance. Marcus, my brother-in-law, leaned back with that smug grin that always made my skin crawl. Vivian giggled behind her napkin, the pretty kind of giggle that gets forgiven. I stood there holding a ticket that cost $2 and carried the weight of my entire childhood. The forgotten daughter, the one who does gardening, the one who is always so independent, the one who does not need anything, because they never want to give. They did not know the ticket would change everything. $100 million changes everything, but not in the way people imagine when they think about champagne and sports cars. It changed my posture. It changed my breathing. It changed the way I looked at the table I had been serving for years. And it changed what I was willing to tolerate from the people who said family is everything, while treating me like an extra chair. That Thanksgiving was like every Crawford holiday. Not warm, not cozy, not a movie. It was a stage where everyone performed the role my parents assigned. Vivian, the golden child, floated through rooms like she owned them. Marcus played the charming success story, telling polished lies about consulting and real estate, soaking up admiration like sunlight. My parents played proud, respectable, stable. I played the quiet one who brings salad, refills water, folds napkins, and nods when someone misnames her career. I arrived at exactly 5:00 with a homemade autumn salad and a bouquet of dahlias. I grew myself, deep burgundy, perfect for the season. 3 months of care, and I carried them like proof I could make something beautiful, even when nobody noticed. My mother opened the door before I could knock. "Oh, Audrey," she said, and her eyes flicked to the flowers, then away. "Still playing with plants, I see." Then Vivian arrived, and the sound in the house shifted. My mother rushed past me, arms wide, squealing like she had not seen her in years. It had been 2 weeks. "There is my girl," she cried, praising Vivian's dress, her hair, her glow, her life. I stood in the doorway holding my dahlias, watching my mother hug my sister like salvation. I stepped inside anyway, because I always did. The house buzzed with relatives I barely recognized. Bodies packed into rooms that smelled like roasting turkey and expensive perfume. My father sat in his leather recliner, laughing too loudly with Marcus, as if their jokes were currency. He did not stand when I entered. He barely nodded. "Audrey, good. You are here," he said, eyes still on Marcus. "We need help setting the table." Of course we did. I slipped into the dining room with my salad bowl and my flowers, and I felt the familiar tightening in my chest. That old reflex that told me to become useful so I would not become inconvenient. In the living room, the family formed a semicircle around Marcus while he described his latest deal. Everyone leaned in, hungry for his voice. Marcus was slippery, and my instincts screamed it, but instincts were not proof. Proof was what people respected in this family. Proof, diplomas, paychecks, titles. Not me. Aunt Marlene caught my eye across the room. Her smile was small and sad, like she wanted to reach for me but did not know how without making herself a target. I turned away and started arranging napkins. My mother drifted in, with a distant cousin trailing behind her. "This is Audrey, my younger daughter," she announced, like I was a hobby she had once tried. "She does gardening. I think something with plants. Landscape architecture." "Mom," I said quietly, still folding napkins into sharp triangles. "I design green spaces for corporate buildings." She waved a hand as if I was being dramatic. "Same thing, dear." The cousin nodded politely, already losing interest. I stared at the white linen and told myself that some battles were not worth fighting. Not yet. I kept moving because movement kept me from feeling. I refilled water glasses. I carried platters. I wiped the counter. And while my hands stayed busy, My mind caught scraps of conversation like a net in a storm. Marcus bragged about promotions and investments. Vivian laughed too bright. My mother talked about class and image. My father talked about family values with a salesman's grin. Then I heard them in the kitchen. The door was slightly ajar, and voices slid through the crack in that conspiratorial tone families use when they think no one is listening. The cruise leaves December 15th, my mother said. 2 weeks in the Caribbean. The whole family. You, Marcus, the kids, your father and me. Even Grandma Grace, if she feels well enough. My fingers froze on the pitcher handle. What about Audrey? Vivian asked. Not with concern, just with the casual note you use when you remember a lamp exists. Silence. Then my father cleared his throat. She is busy with work. Besides, a trip like this is expensive. We do not want to burden her. They had not asked if I was busy. They had not asked if I could afford it. They had decided I was not worth including. And they had wrapped that decision in a fake kindness. I pushed the door open. I am not invited. 3 faces turned toward me. My mother's smile tightened. My father suddenly became fascinated by his coffee cup. Sweetheart, my mother began, performing softness. This trip is to celebrate Marcus's promotion, Vivian said, honeyed and smug. It is really more of a family thing. I finished the sentence for her. It is not about me. It is not about you, Audrey, Vivian agreed, like she was teaching me a rule. We just did not think you would be interested. You are always so independent, my mother added. Independent. That was the word they used when they meant outsider. The word they used when they wanted to excuse their neglect, without admitting it. I opened my mouth, ready to say something sharp, something honest, something that might finally land like a stone on their perfect table. But movement in the hallway made me stop. Grandma Grace stood there with her walker, her frail hand gripping the handle. Her eyes met mine, sharp and knowing. She looked at me like she could see straight through the performance and into the bruise underneath. She reached out and squeezed my hand. She did not say a word, but in that silence I felt seen, fully, painfully, and sweetly seen. Audrey, help your grandmother sit down, my mother instructed, already trying to steer her away like a problem. She should not be standing so long. Grandma Grace let me guide her. But as my mother tried to herd her toward the guest room, Grandma Grace looked back at me. Her lips moved silently, and I leaned in just enough to catch it. Call Thomas Smith this week. I nodded, even though I did not understand. I would call. I did not know why, but her eyes told me it mattered. Dinner began with my father tapping his wine glass with a fork, calling the room to attention like a man who loved being listened to. Before we eat, I want to thank everyone for being here, he said. Family is everything. 30 people nodded. 30 witnesses. This year, Patricia and I wanted to do something special for our daughters, he continued. He gestured grandly toward Vivian. Vivian, sweetheart, come here. Vivian glided forward, all grace and designer heels. My mother handed her a thick envelope, beaming. For you and Marcus and the kids, she sang. A 14-day Caribbean cruise. First class. The room erupted. Applause. Gasps. Vivian did the pretty crying, the kind that looks good in photos. Oh my God, thank you, she said, hugging them like a commercial for gratitude. I knew the cost. $13,000. I had seen the itinerary on my mother's computer last month. I was not supposed to see it, but I did. They had planned this. They had planned how to make me watch. Then my mother turned to me, and the applause faded like someone pulled a plug. Audrey, honey, come here. I walked forward on wooden legs. She pressed a thin envelope into my hands. Inside was a single slip of paper. A Mega Millions ticket. $2. This is what suits your situation, dear, she said, smiling without warmth. Who knows? Maybe luck will find you. Someone snickered. Then someone else. Marcus leaned back with that smirk. Luck is a long shot when you do not have brains to back it up. Laughter rippled. Vivian covered her mouth, giggling. Oh, that is so cute, Mom, she said. Maybe she will win $5. My face burned. But deeper than embarrassment, something shifted. A crack, a release. I stared at the ticket, and instead of shrinking, I felt a strange calm. Thank you, Mom, I said, and I smiled. I am sure this will be exactly what I deserve. No one noticed the edge in my voice, But I did. The laughter was still echoing when Grandma Grace's voice cut through it like a thin blade. Gerald, Patricia, this is not right. Every head turned. Grandma Grace stood at the edge of the room without her walker, trembling with the effort. Her voice was soft, but it carried. You cannot treat Audrey this way. Not in front of everyone. Not ever. Silence fell, heavier than before. The kind of silence that makes people stare at their plates, suddenly fascinated by mashed potatoes. My father's jaw tightened. Mother, please, he warned. I am not finished, Grandma Grace said, and my heart lurched with a strange combination of pride and fear. My mother moved fast, heels clicking with purpose. You are tired, Mom. Let me take you to lie down. Patricia, I am not, Grandma Grace protested. The doctor said you need rest. My mother insisted. Come on. I watched, helpless, as my mother guided my grandmother toward the guest room with practiced efficiency. The way you move an object out of the center of a photo. Grandma Grace looked back at me over her shoulder. She nodded once, deliberate, then flicked her gaze toward her old leather handbag, sitting on the armchair by the window. The one she always carried. The one nobody was allowed to touch. Then the door closed, and the room exhaled. Conversations resumed like the interruption never happened. People returned to laughing, to eating, to praising Marcus. The moment passed for them. It did not pass for me. I excused myself to the bathroom and locked the door. I stared at my reflection, cheeks flushed, eyes too bright. The lottery ticket was still crumpled in my fist. $2. That was what they thought I was worth. But Grandma Grace had told me to call a lawyer. Thomas Smith. Why would my grandmother, who had no lawsuits and no drama, tell me to call a lawyer? The question sat in my stomach like a stone. It was nearly midnight when I started cleaning up, alone as usual. Guests had left, coats gathered, hugs exchanged. Vivian and Marcus retreated to the living room to plan cruise outfits. My parents saw off the last relatives, basking in compliments about what a wonderful family they had. I carried dishes into my father's study and froze. His desk was a mess. Papers scattered like he had been searching for something and left in a hurry. Bills with red overdue stamps. A letter from a collection agency. And beneath it, a document that made my blood go cold. A loan agreement, signed by my father. Co-signed by Marcus Pierce. $180,000. My hands shook as I read the interest rate. Predatory. The kind you see in dark corners, not family dinners. I flipped to the next page. It was worse. Collateral documents for Grandma Grace's house. The house she had lived in for 50 years. The house my mother grew up in. The house that was supposed to be hers until she passed. There was her signature, shaky and uneven, dated 6 months ago. The same month she fell and spent 2 weeks hospitalized, drugged on pain medication. My throat tightened. They had made her sign when she was not herself. I pulled out my phone with fingers that felt numb. I photographed everything, page after page, the ink, the dates, the numbers, the signatures. I did not know what I would do with the photos. I did not have a plan, but I understood something with brutal clarity. The favoritism was not about love. It was not about Vivian being special. It was about control. I was the threat. I was the one who might ask questions, who might notice the cracks. They needed me small, silent, invisible. That was why I got a $2 ticket. I slipped out the back door with the photo saved and my mind on fire. For the first time in my life, I was not going to stay quiet. A week after Thanksgiving, I called Aunt Marlene. She picked up on the second ring. Audrey, Aunt Marlene, I need to ask you something. Is Dad in serious debt? Silence. Long. Heavy. You know something, do you not? I pressed. How did you find out? She whispered. I saw papers at the house. A loan agreement with Marcus. Audrey. Her voice dropped lower. Do not talk about this on the phone. Why not? Because there are things you do not know yet about Marcus. About your father. My grip tightened. What things? Not here. Not like this. Meet me Saturday. The coffee shop on Elm Street. 2 o'clock. Aunt Marlene, please. And Audrey? She hesitated, like she was deciding whether to step off a cliff. Do not trust anything Marcus tells you. He is not who he pretends to be. The line went dead. I sat in my apartment, staring at the lottery ticket on my kitchen counter. I had forgotten it was there, crumpled and ignored. Like me. Maybe it was time to check the numbers. I opened the Mega Millions app, entered the numbers, and watched the loading wheel spin. The first number matched. My heart skipped. The second matched. I stopped breathing. The third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, all of them. I refreshed. Same result. I went to the official website. Same numbers. Same result. $100 million. I did not scream. I did not cry. I just sat perfectly still, like my body was afraid to move and break the spell. Then I did the first thing that came to mind. I searched what a lottery winner should do first. And then I remembered Grandma Grace's words. Thomas Smith. It was time to make that call. I did not tell anyone, not a single soul. For 3 days, I moved through my life like a ghost wearing human skin. I went to work, answered emails, smiled at clients, all while carrying a secret worth 9 figures in my pocket. When my phone buzzed with messages from my mother or Vivian, I felt nothing. Not guilt, not love, just distance. The money was not what consumed me. It was the power, not power over them, power over myself. For 32 years, I had been the invisible one. Now I had options they could not take. I called Thomas Smith. Miss Crawford. His voice was warm but professional. Your grandmother said you might reach out. She told me to call you, I said. I do not know why. Perhaps you should come to my office, he replied. There are matters we need to discuss about your grandmother's estate and her house. A pause. And you have won something, have you not? $100 million, I said. Another pause. Longer. Then we definitely need to talk. Please come tomorrow. And do not mention this call to anyone in your family. Not yet. I hung up, staring at my reflection in the dark phone screen. The ticket gave me money, but Thomas Smith was about to give me something more valuable. The truth. Thomas Smith's office smelled like old books and expensive leather. He was older than I expected, early 60s. Silver hair, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. The kind of lawyer who still believed rules mattered. Please sit, he said, gesturing to the chair across his mahogany desk. I sat, palms damp. What did my grandmother want you to tell me? He slid a folder toward me. 10 years ago, your grandmother established a trust fund in your name. My breath caught. A trust fund. $500,000. The room tilted. I never knew, I whispered. She wanted it that way, he said gently. She was afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid your mother would find a way to take it from you. I opened the folder with trembling hands. Legal documents, statements, signatures. Real, my grandmother had been saving for me quietly, protecting me quietly, loving me quietly in a family that made love a transaction. There is more, Thomas said. The house. I saw the papers, I said. My father cashed it in. He nodded. The deed was signed 6 months ago, the day after your grandmother was hospitalized. She was heavily medicated, barely coherent. That is fraud, I said, nausea rising. Potentially, he replied carefully. The timeline is suspicious. The signature is shaky, but proving coercion can be difficult without witnesses. She did not know what she was signing, I said, voice tight. I do not believe she did, he agreed. Your father owes Marcus Pierce $180,000. The house was collateral. If your father defaults, Marcus gets the property. The pieces clicked. The exclusion. The cruelty. The $2 ticket. I was never meant to look behind the curtain. What can I do? I asked. With your resources now, you have options, he said. We can challenge the deed. We can pay the debt and remove the lien. We can protect your grandmother. Protect her, I said immediately. That is what matters. I met Aunt Marlene at the coffee shop on Elm Street that Saturday. The place smelled like burnt espresso and cinnamon. It was nearly empty, which felt safer. Aunt Marlene looked different than at Thanksgiving. Older, worn down by whatever secrets she had been carrying. She slid into the booth across from me, clutching her purse like a lifeline. I should have said something years ago, she whispered. Tell me about Marcus, I said. Her hands trembled as she wrapped them around her cup. He is not a consultant. Not really. He lends money to desperate people at interest rates that would make a loan shark blush. I exhaled slowly. There is more, she said, and she pulled out her phone. 2 months ago, at your parents' anniversary party, Marcus left his phone unlocked on the counter. I was not snooping. I was looking for mine. She showed me messages between Marcus and someone named Diana. Romantic, explicit, damning. Cannot wait until this is over. Once the house deal closes, I am out. Vivian served her purpose. Divorce papers are already drafted. My stomach dropped. He is cheating on her, I said. For 8 months, Aunt Marlene whispered. Diana is his assistant. Does Vivian know? I asked. I do not think so, she said, eyes wet. She is so wrapped up in being perfect, she cannot see the red flags. I sat back, processing. Vivian was not my enemy. She was another victim. She just did not know it yet. That afternoon, I visited Grandma Grace at the nursing home. The place smelled like antiseptic and fading flowers. Her room was small but sunny, windows looking out at a garden that needed help. My help. Grandma Grace looked smaller than I remembered. But when I walked in, her eyes sharpened. Audrey, she breathed, reaching for my hand. Of course I came, I said, pulling a chair close. I talked to Thomas Smith, I told her. Good, she said. He is a good man. Why did you not tell me about the trust? I asked. Because your mother would have taken it, she said, firm. You were the only one who never asked me for anything. That is how I knew you deserved it. Tears burned my eyes. Grandma, the house, I said. They made me sign papers, she admitted. Everything was foggy. I was in pain. I know, I whispered. We are going to fix it. She studied me. There is something else. Something you are not telling me. I hesitated. Then I told her about the lottery. $100 million. The ticket my mother gave me as a joke. Grandma Grace laughed, a dry sound like rustling paper. Karma, she whispered. I always believed in karma. I am going to buy back your house, I promised. I will make sure you live there again. She cupped my cheek. I do not need revenge, Audrey. I need you free. Promise me you will not become like them. Do not let money turn you cruel. I kissed her forehead. I promise. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, my family gathered again for a farewell dinner before the cruise. I was invited, not as a guest, but as staff. Audrey, arrange the centerpieces. You are good with plants. Audrey, guide the caterer. Audrey, make sure Grandma's nurse knows we will be gone 2 weeks. I did it all with a smile. Played my part. No one knew about the lawyers. No one knew about the limited liability company I formed to claim the winnings anonymously. No one knew that soon I would be worth more than everyone in that room combined. Marcus held court, describing snorkeling and fine dining and spa treatments for Vivian. Too bad you cannot join us, Audrey, Vivian said, not sounding sorry. Someone needs to water Mom's orchids. I do not mind, I said sweetly. I hope you all have an amazing time. Marcus leaned closer, voice dripping condescension. Buy any more lottery tickets. Maybe you will win $5 next time. I smiled. You never know, I said. Luck has a way of surprising people. 12 days, I thought. In 12 days, they would be in the Caribbean, and I would be ready. The morning they left for the cruise, I did not go to the port. My mother called the night before, accusation wrapped in disappointment. You are not coming to see us off. Always work with you. Always work. I spent departure day in Thomas Smith's office, finalizing the paperwork for my limited liability company. The winnings would clear within the week after taxes, roughly $62 million. More than enough. My phone buzzed while I reviewed documents. Vivian, something is wrong with Dad's credit card. It got declined at the port. Can you transfer $500? I will pay you back. I stared at the message, feeling the irony like a bitter taste. The first time Vivian ever asked me for money, I knew why the card declined. Debt does not care about cruise tickets. I typed back, I do not have $500 to spare right now. Ask Marcus. He is the financial consultant. Minutes later, she replied, never mind. We figured it out. I did not ask how. Day 3 of the cruise, I posted a single story online. Me standing in front of Grandma Grace's house. Home renovation project starting soon. I knew my father would see it. He always watched, always tracked, always measured. That same week, the local news ran a brief story. Mega Millions jackpot claimed. Winner remains anonymous. The ticket was purchased at a convenience store, 3 miles from my parents' home. Aunt Marlene mentioned it in the family chat, and suddenly everyone was joking, speculating, dreaming. Then my mother messaged me privately. That ticket I gave you. You still have it, right? I waited an hour. Yes, Mom. Why? Just curious, she wrote, suddenly nervous. The calls started, one after another. My mother, my father, Vivian, Marcus. I let every call go to voicemail. By midnight, I had dozens of missed calls. Their panic was almost loud enough to hear through the screen. At 8 that night, I joined a video call. Their faces crowded my laptop screen from the ship's lounge, tropical sunset behind them. My mother's voice turned syrupy. Audrey, there is our girl. We miss you so much. We wish you were here. My father leaned forward. We heard something about a lottery ticket. Yes, I said. I won. They erupted. Congratulations, spilling like confetti. When the noise died, I spoke again. $100 million. Marcus recovered first, already calculating. You are going to need help managing that. I have a lawyer, I cut in. And before we talk about money, there are things this family needs to know. I shared my screen. The loan agreement appeared. $180,000. 32% interest. My father went pale. My mother stopped breathing. Then the deed to Grandma's house. Signed during her hospitalization. Shaky signature. Suspicious timing. And then the messages between Marcus and Diana. 8 months. Plans to leave. Divorce papers drafted. Vivian's face collapsed. Marcus tried to deny it, but his silence said everything. Here is what is going to happen, I said, voice steady. I am paying the debt. I am clearing the lien. I am protecting Grandma. The house goes back to her, legally protected. None of you will touch it again. I ended the call. In the quiet that followed, I did not feel triumph. I felt something better. I felt free.